My wife had me kicked out of my own home by the police and renamed our son after another man. Hello Reddit I plus here. I stared at the officer standing on my porch, his face blank and professional as he repeated words that didn't seem real. Sir, we're here to inform you that your wife has filed a restraining order. You need to vacate the premises immediately. My home. The house I had paid for, renovated, and built a life in was suddenly off limits to me. I tried to protest, but the officer simply handed me the paperwork. You'll need to speak with your lawyer, he said. Inside, I could see her standing with her arms crossed, our 2-year-old son balanced on her hip. She didn't even look at me as I packed a bag and left. It began months ago. My wife, Kelly, had grown distant, always on her phone, always busy. She'd laugh at messages, but when I asked, she'd brush it off. Then came the late nights, the whispered phone calls. I knew something was wrong, but I never expected this. A week after I was forced out, I learned from a mutual friend that Kelly had filed to legally change our son's last name, to match that of another man. That's when the pieces clicked. She'd been seeing someone else. This man wasn't just a fling. He was someone she wanted to rewrite her life with. And in her mind, that meant erasing me. I spent the next few weeks living in a motel, drowning in anger and disbelief. My lawyer assured me I had a strong case to fight the restraining order and block the name change. But it wasn't going to be easy. Kelly had accused me of being unstable and threatening, painting me as a danger to her and our son. I wasn't perfect. I'd yelled during arguments. I'd been frustrated, but I'd never laid a hand on her. And now she was using our fights as ammunition to push me out of my son's life entirely. While digging into the case, my lawyer uncovered something shocking. The man Kelly was seeing wasn't just a boyfriend. He was wealthy, influential, and pulling strings to help her in court. He'd even hired a private investigator to follow me, hoping to find dirt to discredit me as a father. But what they didn't count on was me fighting back. I started documenting everything. Witnesses who could vouch for my character, texts and emails that disproved Kelly's claims, even financial records that showed how much I'd contributed to our son's upbringing. My lawyer subpoenaed phone records, revealing conversations between Kelly and her new partner, discussing their plans to cut me out. And then there was the final bombshell, a recording from my home security camera. It captured Kelly and her boyfriend laughing about how easy it would be to make me look like the bad guy. When we finally faced each other in court, I felt a surge of determination. Kelly's lawyer painted me as an unfit father, but I stayed calm, letting my evidence speak for itself. When my lawyer played the recording, the courtroom fell silent. Kelly's smug demeanor crumbled as the judge demanded an explanation. In the end, the restraining order was dismissed, the name change denied, and I was granted primary custody of my son. Kelly and her boyfriend were reprimanded for their actions, and the judge saw through their manipulations. As I walked out of the courtroom with my son in my arms, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. I hadn't just fought for my rights as a father, I'd fought for my identity, my place in my son's life. Now, I'm focused on rebuilding. My son deserves a stable, loving home, and I'll do everything I can to give him that. As for Kelly, she made her choice, but I refuse to let her rewrite our history. Kelly is out of control, Erin's email began. She's been lying to me about everything. I thought I was helping her escape an abusive marriage, but it turns out I've been her pawn. I read on, my chest tightening with every sentence. Erin admitted that Kelly had manipulated him, just as she'd tried to manipulate me. He'd poured money into her legal battles, believing her sob story about me being a danger to Ethan. But now, Erin claimed, she was spiraling, drinking heavily, making erratic decisions, and even talking about leaving the country with Ethan to start fresh. My stomach dropped. Leaving the country? I immediately forwarded the email to my lawyer, who responded within minutes. We need to act fast. This could escalate. I filed an emergency petition to restrict Kelly's visitation rights. With Erin willing to testify, the case swung heavily in my favor. Kelly didn't see it coming. In court, Erin detailed how she'd used him, her plans to flee, and the volatile environment she was creating for Ethan. The judge listened intently, finally ruling that Kelly's visitation would be supervised until she could demonstrate stability. It was a small victory, but one that gave me a sense of security. For a while, things quieted down. Kelly seemed to retreat into herself, and I started to hope that she might actually work on getting her life together. But a month later, she showed up unannounced at my doorstep, her eyes red-rimmed and pleading. I made a mistake, she said, tears streaming down her face. I was scared, and I didn't know what to do. Please, let me see Ethan more. I'll do anything. Her words tugged at my heart. But I couldn't forget what she'd done. The lies, the manipulation, the way she'd tried to erase me from Ethan's life. I'm not the enemy, Kelly, I said firmly. If you want to be in Ethan's life, you need to prove it. Get help. Show me you're serious about being a mother. But until then, I have to protect him. She left, sobbing, and I felt a pang of guilt. But I knew I'd made the right choice. Months turned into years. Kelly stayed in the picture, but at a distance, limited to supervised visits. Erin disappeared from her life, and she eventually sought therapy. While she never fully admitted to the harm she caused, she began to take small steps toward being a better parent. As for me, I found peace in the little moments with Ethan, his laughter, his curiosity, the way he'd call me Dad with such certainty. I knew the battle wasn't just about winning custody. It was about creating a safe, loving environment where he could thrive. One day, as we played in the yard, Ethan looked up at me with a grin that lit up his whole face. "Daddy, I love our house," he said, hugging me tightly. And in that moment, I knew I'd done the right thing. Not just for me, but for him. The scars of the past would always be there, but they didn't define our future. Our home was ours again, and no one could take that away.